Good evening, everyone. My name is Rudy Page, and welcome to another of our series of Homeward Bound Creativity Showcase. And I'm so pleased today we have Jennifer Speid, the CEO of the Jamaican Etiquette company. And we're so pleased. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon.
Good to see you. Good to see you. It's been said before that the future is uncertain, but this uncertainty is the very heart of human creativity. Creativity is about unleashing the potential of the mind to conceive new ideas. Innovation is about introducing change into existing systems and developing competencies to make new ideas viable. Entrepreneurs should join forces as combined entities and operate their business models across international boundaries and cultures, providing opportunities and solutions. There is renewable energy within all communities, regardless of their background and status. So, Jennifer, tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Right, thank you. Once again, good afternoon. I'm speaking from St. Anne's in Otis in Jamaica, so it is afternoon here. So thank you very much, Rudy, for inviting me to take part in your show. I'm Jennifer Speid. I'm the CEO and founder of the Jamaican School of Etiquette. That was the training school for etiquette and social skills, which I incorporated in 2018 here in Jamaica, following a successful training with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Yeah, we had a program, it was a residential program prior to COVID, and everything was put in pre and post-COVID now. Pre-COVID, we had a very successful training school where we trained, and I was the lead trainer then, all the students who were studying for their hospitality associate degrees. So they had to go through my program, which I was asked to write for the ministry at the time. I was born here in Jamaica. I left when I was very young, and I really decided to come back here. My first decision was not really to come here to stay, but circumstances were such, and I will go into that a bit later. But I lived, spent most of my life in Southwest London. I sort of lived in Vauxhall, Cottrell, Brixton, Clapham, and went to school there. I sort of graduated and went to work with my final position was actually in insolvency. I was very successful at working in the field of bankruptcy and insolvency. Worked for three of the largest insolvency accountancy firms in the UK. So I considered myself to be really quite successful in what I did. But I found that I wanted to do more. So we'll go into that later as to what I actually did.
Okay.
But that's really my background, is where that is concerned. But
okay.
Return to Jamaica.
Excellent. So what lessons have you learned from your life's journey that you would like to really pass on to the next generation?
Very good question. The usual cliche, I would say, that we were all told: life is short. Don't take one day for granted. Everything can change in a moment, but remember, it's what is most important, and that you must cherish the people that are most important to you. I think I've come to the conclusion that we spend too much time worrying, was what I would actually say to the next generation and anyone sort of wanting to get my advice. We spend too much time worrying about things we can't change. And I think that goes for a lot of us. We have so much potential. We are awash with opportunities, and especially now post-COVID, there's so many opportunities that we never thought of before, but we tend to ignore or overlook them. And where they're staring us in the face, and because we're chasing illusions, some illusion of what we believe is the ultimate goal, and as we get older, we realize that they're not as important as we thought they were when we were younger. And most of the time we're pandering as well to the wishes of others. We don't really think about what we want. We're sort of doing it. Everything else that we do tend to be, oh, someone wants us to do this, and we're doing it to please other people, not ourselves. So the lessons, there are probably about 6 of them I'll just quickly run through with you. The few lessons that I would pass on is your mind. It's a powerful tool. Don't forget that. We tend to overlook that. And I think that if you tell yourself you can't achieve something, the chances are you won't. I really believe in self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you said I can't, then you already set yourself up for failure. So be positive. Tell yourself that you cannot is really not a thing. I mean, at the moment, what I do here in Jamaica, I have a group, and I've done a lot of networking and lots of things, and there's a lot of group of British people that I've got to know, and Jamaicans as well as others. And every morning I send out a positive sort of what we do in WhatsApp, a positive message and inspiration and empowering messages. And I'm really quite surprised at how many times, every time I see someone, they said, Jennifer, that's really touched me. I'm so pleased. That's really made me think of something that's really talking to me about my problems and my situation, and it's actually helped me. And there's one case that I found actually at the moment, which is, I won't go into that, but it is an abuse case where, domestic abuse case where she was, she said that really helped her to take things, to get out of that toxic relationship. So I think it's use your mind, it's very powerful, and think about what you're doing and what you're saying and use it. Number 2, no particular order, I would say believe in yourself. You can sometimes disparage yourself and you think, again, it goes on the ability to do things. At the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, then you're destroying your confidence, and you need to do that. So get motivation, believe in yourself, and it's okay to be your biggest cheerleader. Sometimes it's, oh, well, you're too big-headed, you don't want to do this, and you're actually bigging yourself up. Well, if you don't do it, nobody else will. So be your biggest cheerleader is what I would say. And put yourself first. It's not selfish. Putting yourself first is not selfish. If you've never put yourself first, then it's time to start. You can't please everyone, so stop trying. Think of instructions even on the airplane. What do they say when they say, put your mask on first, right? If you can't put yourself first and look after yourself, you can't help anybody else. So do put yourself first. It's not selfish to do that. First, Put your mask on first, they said, right? Yeah. Right. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Put your mask and your seatbelt on first.
Yes, everything. And if you can't do that, then you won't be able to position to help yourself. If you don't have your mental health and your physical health, you can't help anybody else. And you are who you attract. That's another one I would say to them. Let go of toxic people. People tell you that you can't do things, the naysayers. They're, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. That sounds too dangerous. No, I wouldn't. I've been through that and it didn't work. Well, that's their experience. That's not yours. So surround yourself with like-minded people. There will be times when the bad things happen, negative happens, then you just have to move on. I always say, take the positive thing, no matter what actually happened, how bad it is. There's always a chink of light. There's always something positive that you've learned from that. Use that to propel yourself to the next step. So I do believe, as I said, use that thread to put yourself forward. And bad times don't last forever. That's just part of your chapter in life. So go through that and stay away from toxic, negative people. Again, we talk about mental health, so I won't go into that, but get out of your comfort zone sometimes. Sometimes we sit there in our comfort zone and we don't want to do things because it's going to upset the apple cart. Well, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. If you want a different result, you have to change how you behave. So take that. You are the architect of your destiny. So think positively and make sure that, whatever you're doing it for the right reasons. And make time for the people you love. Finally, I said, make time for the people you love. Communication is key. Keep communicating with people. If you want a healthy relationship, you need to communicate with each other. And that means within your personal life and your family and friends as well. And never miss an opportunity to say, I love you. You are not alone, right? And you may feel at times that you are alone, especially when you're going through some really bad times. You said you're alone, but you're never alone. So just know that that's the way things are. Sometimes you will feel negative, you feel disparity, you feel as if no one cares, but there's always someone who's going to help you through that, and you just need to reach out most of the time.
Keep the faith in yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the 6 points I would pass on.
Okay, excellent. And I think, and we'll probably talk a bit more about it as we go on, what is commendable about your work is that also not only are you motivating young people, but you're motivating the adults who have an impact on the young people as it relates to their attitude, their aspirations, and their ambitions to attain their goals. So it's really important what you're doing. And for us as well, in terms of youth development and employability, we say the 3 principles are: young people need somewhere to go, young people need something to do, young people need someone to show them how. So, and everything that you do encapsulates all of those values and those pillars. So it's excellent. So what made you decide to return to Jamaica? Big question.
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think it was not my first journey. It was not my first choice. It was certainly, and I didn't really plan on it. It seemed to just happen. My sort of, I know I wasn't settled in England. I know I wanted to live somewhere else. And as I said, I left Jamaica as a child, and I had no choice in moving to Jamaica, to England. That was my parents, and I am forever grateful for them to do that. I'm nothing wrong with that. But my first choice was Canada. I lived in Canada for 5 years, because I sort of got to the point, I think, that I think most Black people sort of when I went to go to Jamaica to England rather, had challenges back in the sort of 60s and so on. We had a lot of challenges. So I never quite felt that I belonged. Although, there's always something there that would suppress me. I really felt suppressed. And I said, I had a very, very, very successful career. But of course, there's always that glass ceiling.
Of course.
There's always that glass ceiling that you have to break. And I think, that is something that being a sort of a Black woman, being Black and sort of, and especially the field I was in.
And in that environment, you would have certainly been a minority, but I think it's important that you did your best and you did rise up the ladder, which is important.
Yes, there were times when, of course, I used to go there and I was the only Black face in the sea for white people, but that is what it was there, and I fought really hard to and it's very to actually get to where I am. So I have no opinion on that, but I've always had a sense of me. I've always had a very strong sense of who I am. I've always been extremely confident in who I am, and sometimes I've been told that I'm too overbearing and so on. But I'm also quite forthright. So I find, for me, that's a plus. Other people had challenges with it, but that's who I am.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with that. So what did make me want to return to Jamaica? I think that I decided actually when my son went to university that after came back from Canada, that I didn't want to stay there. I came back from Canada in 2005, and I didn't really, when he went to university, my son went to university, and I didn't want to stay there. But I came to Jamaica because an uncle of mine who wasn't very well. He since passed, and I came really to help him, to actually sort of just help out. And I decided then, while I was here, I came for 6 months, and I decided while I was here, there was an opportunity. I got to meet some people. I was introduced to lots of interesting people, and who introduced me to others, and really successfully networking and do some networking. And that was how I became sort of interested. I think I arrived in January of 2015. I arrived in January 2015. I've been back and forth, of course, but I arrived in 2015 was my final time when I was here. And to stay for 6 months, and I got a bit bored, so I started going to the Pegasus Hotel. Actually, I lived in Kingston, and just sort of, because you go to the Pegasus Hotel, it's, you know, it's like an office, right?
Yeah, and you meet everybody. It's amazing the amount of people that you meet from the UK just standing in Pegasus reception.
Yes, exactly. The world and his wife walks through there, right?
No, it's
You've been there.
Yeah.
And I just look up there, and I took my laptop, and you got free Wi-Fi, and you buy, you know, a cup of coffee, and you sit there all day, and then you have a quick lunch, and you sit there all day. It's like an office. You just go there, and everyone's there.
Exactly.
Working.
And as you mentioned that, for anybody watching from the UK or the US or Canada or around the world, you just can go to Pegasus Hotel, right? You know, New Kingston, and you can spend all day there with your phone and your laptop. You know, just buy a meal in the cafe, support the local community, the local economy, and you can run your business from Kingston, from Jamaica, as easy as that. And as we come through the pandemic, of course, it's even easier now with so much business being done online. And so it's a great environment, great backdrop, isn't it?
It is great. I mean, it was there when President Obama was there.
Okay.
I don't know, there were 3 people there at the time when I was there, actually, and I got to know the general managers. President Obama was actually there. Princess Anne was there, and the Prime Minister of Japan. All 3 of them were in the hotel at one time when I was actually there. It was just so surreal. You just walk through and you see all these people, and nobody bothers it. You just sort of walk through it. It's just an everyday occurrence, you know, sort of thing. So that's where I was, and I wrote my business plan. At the time, I was really sort of I love afternoon tea. So I wrote a business plan for afternoon tea. And while I was actually there, I just sort of, that went from there. So I decided to come back to Jamaica really to help look after my aunt. And then it just mushroomed from there as to whether or not I wanted to stay. And it just came from there. But so it wasn't really planned for me to come back to stay. It just evolved.
Life happens.
Yes, yeah.
So what surprised you most about you're living in Jamaica? And you know, you set up the business and you described that. So what has surprised you the most now living in Jamaica, given that you were born in Jamaica and you've traveled around the world and come back now?
Well, everything surprised me, quite frankly, because it's not really. I think the main thing is what we take for granted in this sort of so-called developed country. You know, when I say so-called, because Jamaica is, as far as I'm concerned, just as developed when it comes to technology and so on. It's just, I talk a little bit about that later, I think. But coming from what we call a developed country, the things that really couldn't get my head around is the things that we take for granted. Banking.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is a big problem here. If you want to open a bank account, there's so many things you have to go through. And I think I don't want I don't want to borrow any money.
You mean security, don't you? They're very security conscious as opposed to.
They say security conscious, and I would probably understand. I'm trying to understand what is there's too many red tape to open these bank accounts. You know, we take up, you know, something ID to go there, you open a bank account, you put £100 in, that's it. You have to get a letter from the JP signed, and if you don't know a JP, you're supposed to know them for 4 years and so on. You just arrive in the country, but you get a JP that you know. There are too many red tapes to open a bank account, and I understand they're making it easier, but there's just too many. Dealing with the usual thing, you know, JPS, utilities, the water company, you know, flow, all those things that you take for granted.
All challenges, yeah.
The long queues in the banks.
But at least you've got the sunshine though, Jennifer.
Yeah, yes, no, those negatives. But I'm saying, but we go on to say, those are the things you said, what are the things that I couldn't get my head around? The things that we take for granted, but you don't have to do these things. You just have to do it once or twice, and that's it. It's done. Exactly. Like, you don't have to open a bank account every day, but it's quite traumatic opening a bank account. Yeah. But one that's done, it's done. Yeah. But I take the long basic transaction, you know. So the thing is that they have the technology. I mean, if I take money from because I still have my UK account, take money from my UK account here, it's actually out of my account. Right? It's real time. So it's the other way around as well. So it can be done. I just don't understand why the is so big. So that's really one of the things that for most of the things that what surprised me most. What really sort of was a positive thing. I'm talking about positive thing now. Is the amount of educated people that there are in Jamaica. When I said educated, people with their PhD and the bachelor's degree and so on, they are so, and they use it's a brain drain as far as I'm concerned, because they then have to go to other countries because they just don't have the jobs here, or pay them the opportunities or the pay. That is a huge surprise to me. And I'm working with the Ministry of Education. I'm just blown away by them.
That's right back to the Windrush generation, though, isn't it? Our parents' generation. I mean, it's this how it is in terms of the way the economy was developed. People have to go abroad, and then that's why the diaspora is so important in terms of, giving back to where we've all come from in the Caribbean. So maybe that's part of the life cycle of the Caribbean.
Yes, most certainly. I mean, that's sort of thing that surprised me. And also because I do actually work, I did talk about the diaspora, I did work with them. I'm actually I set up an organization or association called the British Jamaican Association, which really was set up because I worked with Principal Atush, which I'm sure you know, and everyone knows who actually did the Turner Residents Association, which mostly dealt with retirees. This one that I set up, British Jamaican Association, which is also registered on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, is really for people coming into Jamaica, the second and third generation, because you have quite a few third generation coming to Jamaica, not back. They're never born here. They come into Jamaica to do business.
But not only that, where we are now, this type of initiative is what we're now looking for, given the ease of doing business internationally. And there's a much greater awareness amongst the second, third, and fourth generation. And of course, we do have fifth generation as well now. But if you look at that third generation, they are looking back at their heritage. And so you can see over the next few years that a great trend of a growing population group that are used to going backwards and forwards, and then even a higher percentage starting to settle. And so that's going to create a new market completely, which we've yet to really understand. And the research hasn't really started yet. Maybe we're in the action research stage because people are working out the best way to access services and provide services backwards and forwards between the different economies. So there's great potential. There really is. I think
there's huge potential here. I mean, they've got that. I mean, they said that there are. I've actually met a sort of second and third generation coming back, and they have started their business. So the opportunity for is quite open. Entrepreneurial thing, it is quite. And Jamaicans are very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Extremely entrepreneurial. They do the businesses that they start and so on. You think that's it, and because there's technology and you don't have to even work here and sit at your desk on the beach somewhere and do your work.
Be providing services to other organizations all around the world, going backwards and forwards, as you say, using the technology, which of course is happening, particularly in the creative and cultural sectors.
The other thing that surprised me is and we must touch on this. They talk about, because I made a note of this to actually do that. They talked about, I've spoken to people who says, we're not coming to Jamaica because of the crime. We need to put that into context. And I have to persuade and understand, and now my son understands it, because he's always says, well, Mummy, but look, there's always crime in UK. You're sure you're okay? Do you want to stay there? We need to put it into context. Yes, Jamaica has a very high crime rate. There's no getting away from that. But it's within communities, within their own communities, and it's you find that it's within what, as a Jamaican says, what's the phrase that they use? I can't recall as it is, but it is within those people that you associate with each other. So you don't actually see it within certain communities and certain areas. I'm not saying that it's not bad, but I'm saying it's unlikely to be affecting me. I feel safer here in Jamaica than I do in England.
Yeah.
And I will give you an example of that. As
well,
you know,
that's why we don't really get into making false comparisons, because you can be anywhere on the globe at this time and it not be good for yourself and family. So yeah, so your point is really made well. But how important is etiquette, social and soft skills in today's society, from your perspective?
Oh, I think it's extremely important. And I tell you, etiquette is good manners with a dose of kindness. And there was a review, there was a survey done by Huffington Post. It was actually on Twitter. And this is something that I use in my presentation. And the survey was asking, does etiquette matter? And 91% of the survey said, yes, it does matter. And I will give you some examples of what it is now. What we're doing now, for instance, if you, together with social media, when you actually do go for an interview or make an application for a job application, one of the first things they look at now, rather than looking at your CV, which they see, but not take much notice of it, and even your academic qualification is not that high in the list of what they want to do, they look at your social media post. Right, so that's another thing which I've got another presentation on that on Monday. But the social media post, that thing, and that's all to do with etiquette, because if your decorum, how you present yourself, the conversations you have, and so on, your social skills could let you down even before you step through the door to have an interview. So it is very important. It's not about being posh, and a lot of people says, oh well, we don't know. It is not. It's about your social skills. Okay, it's about you keeping your job. Whether you post something derogatory or not online, it's about decorum, and it's not just about dining. A lot of the sites, as I said now, look at the website, there are lots of things that you actually do in etiquette. Everything that you have etiquette airplane, you actually have the traditional ones, but now, of course, we didn't have it before before they had, technology. Now you have email etiquette. You have social media etiquette. So everything that we do, it is very important that some form of etiquette comes into it.
And in fact, as you say that, Jennifer, we talk about the 21st century skills of, collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. And an integral part of all that is those, relationship building, being able to work as a team. So the etiquette world and this sort of human potential and their development world, I can see how they're very much aligned in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes, definitely, because another one thing that we actually got from my course, from my website, is conversation. Not many people know how to have a conversation, and I practically have examples of that. Is going back to interview skills, where some of the larger, especially when it comes to sort of Silicon Valley and things like that, where they interview, they would not do it in the traditional round the board table when they sort of find questions at you. They would actually take you out for a meal. So their interview is be over at the meal, whether it's dinner or something. And there was a very famous one which I use again in my training, where the interviewer actually the boss actually asked the waiter to be as impersonate as possible to the person that was interviewed, to see how do they react, because it's about the brand of that company. The company has a brand and they want to protect that. Now it's all about branding. They want to protect that brand. And if you're going to go out and be sort of horrible to people simply because you're upset, then that's going to affect the brand. And lots of people have actually lost their jobs because of what they post on social media.
And I think, I was going to add to that as well. You talk about the interview skills and the importance of them, but also it's, as you say, being able to have dialogues with people and really able to respond to open questions and ask open questions as well.
Precisely.
I think it's really important.
And now to have conversation, because if you're going to go to, let's say you're invited to a social event on behalf of the company, you need to understand how to have a conversation while you're actually at the table. And it cannot all be about work.
Yeah.
You need to have learned to know conversations. But I'll actually use a quote, but finishing with that question is Clarence Thomas, which is one of the Supreme Court justice and the thing. And what he's actually said, good manners will open doors that the best education cannot.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great line, isn't it?
I think most of us will actually agree with that.
Can you repeat that again? It's a great line.
Yeah, good manners will open doors that the best education cannot.
Excellent, because I'm saying that because I'm thinking of Dr. Lola Ramakan's community helpers, and in her work as well for the young people, it's very much about the manners. So you can have the education but not have the manners.
Yes.
And that's such a great line that reinforces the work that she's doing. So you've touched on it. So inspiring others to do their best and not give up. So we all know when we get to a certain age, persistence is the key to survival. So how do you encourage and inspire others to persist, regardless how difficult things appear at the moment?
Yeah, as you said, we've touched on quite a few of that. So it's an excellent question to wrap it all up. All the things, all of the above, I would actually say, with some examples. Put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
Really, inspire others to do that. Put your best foot forward. Never give up. Perseverance is thy name. Keep persevering. Whatever you do, perseverance is thy name. Help others, and in so doing, you would actually get help. You get help when you deserve it, when you least deserve it, or when least expect. I said least expected, shall I say? Because you can see that karma, it goes around. Like you can help someone today, not expecting repayment or payment, but later down the road, it's not you, it's your family member or friends or something would actually happen.
Yeah, and you raise a great point there, Jennifer, because what you're talking about there, in terms of, we talk about servant leadership, to serve others. And I'm always saying to young people is that serve first before you aspire to lead.
Excellent.
So you raise a great point. And then of course, and what we want from servant leaders is that having made some progress, that they leave the pathway open for others to follow them, so that those behind them are not in a worse situation, because those who've gone before them have not made a contribution to make things better for them.
Yes, excellent point. And what I would say going on to that is that I just got a note here that I could probably mention it. Things that I want to do here. I started what I call a baby project. Baby and parent, I wouldn't say mother, they're a parent project, which I just started here in Jamaica. In fact, when I came back, I was home in November. I came back just before Christmas, and I got a lot of used very good condition baby clothes from 0 to 5. Okay. And I worked with the young women's, well, no, not young women's, I sort of note of it here. So it's the Women's Centre, which I make a note of it here, is the Women's Centre of Jamaica, a foundation. And what they do is they had youth, adolescent girls from school age. I think the youngest was about 13 when I did a couple of presentations, the one in St. Anne's Bay and the one in Kingston. And there's young girls who become pregnant while they're at school. They're actually taken out of the school system and put into this institution, this foundation rather, where they continue their education until they have babies. They go back into the traditional education system. And I'm working with them because I think those young girls, she keeps saying young girls, but I'm talking about parents, I'm talking about the fathers as well, if they're inclined to be that, to work with them. So I've started up a association which is going to bring sort of clothes into Jamaica. Okay. I've actually asked I'm working with 2 Kiwanis Club in Jamaica and the Association of Jamaica Trust UK,
Yeah.
which is actually collecting clothes for me as well. We're trying to do that. So that's one of the things about serving, and I'm really passionate about that. That is a legacy which I would like to leave, actually. So I'm working with that and to think. So it's one of the things I'm doing to inspire people as well and do the best, not to give up. And hopefully I'm going to give to those who actually become part of this and having clothes. I'm having some parenting classes because I think that's something that is lacking here. Parenting classes, and get books as well, so to get them to learn to read with their children, because from my research I find they don't really do read with their children because they can't afford the books. So you know, how do you read bedtime stories? So that's part of the whole program I want to be.
And of course that there's a whole generation of people from the diaspora community resident in Jamaica, backwards and forwards to Jamaica. So of course they can make a significant contribution, particularly in this Diamond Jubilee year. So that's something we could talk about and promote that, so that when people are visiting Jamaica, they can connect with you and really make those donations. So I think that's definitely something that we'll talk about.
Well, wonderful. Okay, I welcome that opportunity, because that's something that I really would like to go. And finally, I love quotes. As I said, I send out inspiration things. I've got 2 quotes which I would like to sort of end with there and talk about how to inspire others. Never stop being a good person because of bad people. Because sometimes you're really good and then I've had enough. I'm not going to be good anymore because I've had such a bad experience. So never stop being a good person because of bad people. And the other is, today is just another chapter in the book of your life's journey. The page will turn. Excellent.
So that means we look forward to your book, and you can come back on, because we have a show called A Chapter from My Life and Book. So I'm giving you your early invitation for you to, come on the show and tell us all about your book. Right. So in closing, I'd really like to thank you, Jennifer Colleen Speid, CEO, the Jamaican School of Etiquette. Right, Jennifer, if people want to get hold of you, how do they get in touch? What's the way to get in touch with you?
Well, I could send my email address. I could give you that. It's Jennifer S for Speid, Jennifer S at the Jamaican School of Etiquette.com. Rather long, but if you go on the website, which is www.thejamaicanschoolofetiquette.com, you'll see my web page, and then you can actually contact me through that. Through WhatsApp, you could do 876-343-8991, and that's one, of course, because it's UK or outside Jamaica.
Could you just repeat that?
876-343-8991. That's the local number, and that's on WhatsApp. Right. But if you go to the website, you have all the information and contact details there.
Yeah, so that's the Jamaican School of Etiquette.com. That's correct. Great. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Rudy, for inviting me. I really did enjoy that. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Good night.